In my opinion, there are several consistent trends. Two of them stand out at the top, in my opinion. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And if you're on YouTube, check the alert notification button here. So I think if everybody starts with one premise, nothing happens until someone buys something. If we focus in on that particular aspect, then sales enablement has, if sales enablement has that as a central focus, then we will identify several top trends, regardless of the segment, industry, or vertical, and we develop plans to address them. In my opinion, there are several consistent trends. Two of them stand out at the top, in my opinion. Number one, prospecting. 69% of sellers reported that prospecting is the hardest part of the sales process. Yep. And that's not just one study, that's 4 studies across 2 years. The last study was October of 2021 with 1,295 respondents worldwide. Prospecting is the hardest part of selling. Enablement professionals need to focus in on this particular aspect. And it's the most important thing that can be focused on from any sales enablement organization. And there are really, in my opinion, 5 areas that we focus in on from a prospecting standpoint. We first have to understand who our target is. If I lined up 100 people from any one organization that had 1,000 sellers, I can guarantee you that each of them will have a different answer on the target. If I asked you those same 100 sellers, what's your cadence look like in terms of reaching out to buyers? I can guarantee you, you're going to have 100 different answers on what their cadence is based upon what they think is the right cadence. If I asked you, what channels are you using? I can guarantee you that 100 people will say 100 different answers on the best channel that they should be using. Email versus voicemail versus LinkedIn versus video versus text, etc. And then if I asked you those same 100 people, whether or not they're getting coaching and feedback 1 hour per week by their sales manager on the calls they made, the emails they sent, the engagement that they have, the data analysis on what's happening, I can guarantee you less than 2% will say they're getting an hour a week from their coaching from their sales manager. This is a giant pandemic, if you would, inside of sales enablement. I think it's one of the biggest hurdles. And it's one of the challenges that sales enablement professionals have, because many sales enablement professionals have not come from sales. So they don't know how to prospect. They don't know how to message. They don't understand how to even use the channels. What should you put into a video? What should you say in that video? And it's this constant loop, and it's the definition of insanity. That's one area. The second hurdle that I think is major is marketing is not able to keep up with the demands of the buyer with content that leads to their solution. Marketing oftentimes in most organizations that we talk to is really focusing on that top of the funnel, and that's super important. But what marketing needs to understand, as important, is creating content that cuts through the noise. Then sales enablement needs to train our sellers on how to think like a smarketer. That's a sales and marketer combined in one. Why? Because I need to understand what piece of content do I use at what stage, and why do I use that piece of content? Because that's the value that buyers are asking for. Bring me value and I'll have a discussion with you. But I can guarantee to you that most of our sellers line up with those same 100 people. Most of the sellers do not read the blog, do not join the internal webinars, do not get the highlights or the plays. They're not reading the analysis, the white papers, the ebooks, and they're certainly not watching the case studies. And this is a major problem, and it all ties in together.